Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Spain. Welcome to Barcelona and the state of Catalonia for a race here at the 2.9-mile racetrack here in Montmelo, Spain. Race 4 of the ABN Hyper Formula Championship comes from Spain here tonight. We're glad you're with us here on ABN for what should be a very fun race here this evening. I'm Carmen and Sienna. Thank you all so much for joining us here this afternoon. 44 laps of racing await us here in Barcelona. A look at everything on your screen at the moment. Winds, they're not very low. 9-mile-an-hour winds here in Barcelona. Very undulating racetrack, so the 9-mile-an-hour winds is not felt everywhere here in Barcelona. You'll feel that a lot down the front straightaway into turn 1. You'll also feel it going down into the final sector of the racetrack. You'll notice no chicane at the end of the lap. It can be a very quick end of the lap as well. Got to manage that dirty air in these cars. Track temp 76 degrees. Or sorry, air temperature 76 degrees. Track temp 104. 74% humidity. Dangerously close levels of humidity. If it was able to rain, it would. Partly cloudy skies means that track temperature should go up as the race goes on. We'll see what everyone puts together here this afternoon. Points entering this race landed heavy in the favor of Neil de Backer after he dominated in Portugal. Bianca Constantinou missing today's race, using a drop round, a very precious drop round here in Spain, entered with 52 points. That margin will not change for the Romanian driver. In Constantinou's place for the first time this season is Lilac Zier. Zier will drive the number 2 car alongside Josh Gaiman as this race gets underway. Taylor Mills with the 41 points ahead of Rachel Conkley. Both of them present in this race. Tucker Sawyer, the only representative here in Barcelona for Ascent Racing, sits 5th ahead of Josh Gaiman, who DNF'd last time out 2 weeks ago in Portugal. Danny Brennan, hot off the presses off the podium in Portugal, sits with 22 points ahead of Lily Peltier-Sharp, Garnet Adams, Eli Sasek rounding out your top 10 at the moment. Then it's Bruce Silva, Rebecca Rennie, Nick Pressey, Derek Miller, Bryce Saucier, Jess Sabin, all the way down through the top 20 that have all scored points here this season so far. And moving over to the team standings, you've got Taylor Mills Racing leading the way with 107 points ahead of Stepping Stone Motorsports, which has 81. Prismatic Motorsports with 64 points, and Ascent Racing with 49. Important to note that the teams that have had 2 cars all season long are top 3 in the standings so far. Ascent Racing in 4th will have 1 driver present today. Eli Sasek taking one of his drop rounds here this afternoon. Taylor Mills Motorsports, which has not had 2 cars all season, has run alternately 1 car or the other, sits in 5th. They've had really good results there between Sabin and Brennan. Nick Pressey Motorsports have struggled on the Hyper Formula side of things, despite being very successful in Champ Car on Wednesdays. They sit 6th ahead of Dogbox Racing. Gearcat sits in 8th after Peltier-Sharp made only a couple of starts. Valfreya Motorsports has no representation on the grid this afternoon. Arrowhead Racing left with just Derek Miller, but Derek Miller qualified 2nd for this race. NECA Motors and Rainbow Racing round out the 12-team championship order. So let's talk about qualifying results. This is what it looked like. Neil de Backer, pole position once again. He takes 3 points. Taylor Mills, 2nd ahead of Rachel Conkley. I said Derek Miller was 2nd. I was mistaken there. He was 2nd when we went live. Obviously, qualifying ended in the time that we went live, and I'm obviously right now. So Taylor Mills takes 2nd place to get that 1-2 for the Mazda team, and Rachel Conkley gets 3rd for Prismatic Motorsports, the Hungarian driver. Still carrying the flagship for Prismatic and Janetta. Danny Brennan back in the top 5, and qualifying ahead of Derek Miller, who could not capitalize on his practice results. He was 2nd, he was fastest in practice, and struggled to put it all together in qualifying. Tucker Sawyer 6th, the Garnet Adams, Lilac Zier, Josh Gaiman, Bryce Saucier, and Nick Pressey, the 11 cars taking part in today's event. Barcelona, the challenging circuit. Coming up here with Silverstone next week. So showtime coming up here very shortly as things come to a full impasse. Yeah, for everyone tuning in, I'm Carmen Sienna. Thank you for joining us here for what should be a very fun 44 laps. One of the tracks that a lot of drivers are going to know almost by heart on the road course side of things. Barcelona, a staple in open wheel calendars, whether it's Formula 1, European Formula, Formula 3, Formula 4. Even on the sports car side of things, a lot of series come to Barcelona. It's one of the premier destinations for racing alongside the Motorland Aragon circuit and the Circuit de Jerez. So we're here at Barcelona as warm-up has concluded. Everyone's had a chance to dial in those cars. So let's go ahead and look at the full starting grid. It's Neil DeBacker and Taylor Mills as they line up at the front of the field. Richard Conkley for Prismatic Motorsports alongside Danny Brennan, Derek Miller and Tucker Sawyer in row number 3. Row 4, Garnet Adams and Lilac Zier, Josh Gaiman and Bryce Saucier. Sitting in row 5, Nick Pressey did not set a qualifying time. He joined after Q1 had already expired, so he will start in 11th position. Not a bad decision there for Nick Pressey, starting at the back. Try to control your race. You can see the Taylor Mills car is right there in tow as we get ready to go here in Barcelona. It's time for those 5 red lights. DeBacker and Mills, front of the field. As the lights go out, we're racing in Barcelona. It's time to get to it. Sawyer with a really good start. Pounce on Danny Brennan as they go through turn number 1. Miller already from 5th to 3rd around Sawyer, around Brennan and around Conkley. As Conkley watches out Garnet Adams with a spin. Pressey out wide, both of them in the sand, but both of them able to continue. Adams with a spin there through turn 3. But everyone largely keeps it going in the right direction. Here we go. Mills got a better start than DeBacker. DeBacker started the season strong with a couple of really good launches, but Portugal and Spain here today obviously not landing in the Belgians' strong suit. As now they go down towards the sweeper instead of the hairpin to kick off the 3rd sector. DeBacker runs a little bit wide. All about managing the air getting to the front wing of these cars. On lap 1, the cold tires as well will not help. But it's Taylor Mills leading the way here in Barcelona to end lap number 1. Good stuff so far for the teammates at the front of the field, looking for another one too. They found pretty detached from those ways since they did so at the beginning of the season. Mills controlling the pace, DeBacker in 2nd. Keep an eye on the 7 of Derek Miller, the Arasaka Arrowhead Racing Toyota. Sitting right now in the 3rd spot with all the work to do. Mills still leads the way. DeBacker had a better Sector 1 and Sector 2, except for right there. Taylor Mills just a little bit faster in that middle sector this time around, but has the clean air to do so. Teammates have swapped places a little bit further back. That is Josh Gaiman getting around Lilac Zier. He's here filling in for Constantinu. As Miller has gone for a loop. Talk about a driver that had potential and has thrown it away really quick. Derek Miller now almost 7 seconds back from the race lead, despite being the fastest in race practice. Now on the back foot. Garnet Adams in the 10th position. Bryce Saucier. Sitting in 9th position at the moment. Not too detached from these 3 drivers at the moment, as they try to work things out. Tucker Sawyer trying to defend 3rd from Rachel Conklin. Danny Brennan not far behind either. There's the battle for 3rd on the lower right-hand side of your screen. These two, obviously these 3 attached from the lead duo, the teammates there at the front. Tabakar has the fastest lap of the race so far. And Sawyer right now sitting in 3rd, obviously using that last sector and how critical it is to have that clean air to his advantage. Danny Brennan has fallen out of the conversation here for 3rd for just a moment. He's not terribly far away. He's only about 1.4 behind Conklin at the moment. Running on board with him. Well, if he didn't blink out. And there you see there's Brennan right now ahead of Conklin. Not sure what happened there, but Brennan obviously rocketing away. Oh, there's contact between these two. That's a missing front wing. That's a missing rear wing for Sawyer. And I think Conklin's missing a front wing. She is. Well, that's a huge loss for the 14 of Conklin, and Sawyer's trying to drift it around. They're just trying to make it back to pit lane so that they can get repairs. What has happened here? They both come down pit lane. Because Brennan got around them quickly. So this had to all have happened really quick in succession. And this is why. This is Sawyer really loose. Rachel nowhere really to go. And that's sort of how that all comes together. And Danny Brennan, to his credit, latency kind of saved him on that one. You see Sawyer just really hot on the throttle, saves it. But obviously Conklin on the exit can't just pivot to the left. And that's how Brennan goes up to 3rd. So Conklin, to her credit, only needed a front wing change. And is back out running. Tucker Sawyer also back out and running after getting that rear wing assembly changed. That just for a very unfortunate racing incident there. Sawyer getting super loose. And Conklin having nowhere to go there. They're now at the back of the field here. DeBacher's gotten ahead of Taylor Mills. So De Backer leads the way. This is Mills, center of your screen. Everything gets underway here. In earnest, De Backer's got the fastest lap now pretty well under control to 123.78. Was his lap time to end lap number 5. Ending lap 6, he's just about a tenth shy of that. Taylor Mills setting personal best of 124.32. Brennan in third. Miller, to his credit, trying to move forward, and Josh Gaiman's had to make a pit stop here. What has happened to Josh Gaiman? This is what happened to Josh Gaiman, the Sevington Motorsports driver. Oh, bad place to have that happen. Really bad place to have that happen. Tank slapper at the worst part of the racetrack. And that is basically race done there for Josh Gaiman. It has to be. Miller now in fourth, trying to chase down Brennan for a potential podium. Conkley out of the way, Sawyer out of the way. But Miller's overdriven his car as well. You see he's used push to pass. That LED on the roll bar of the car. A slow flashing LED means that it's charging, or that it's in cooldown. Solid LED, like what you see on Brennan's car, means that that car is ready to use overtake. And each car's got 200 seconds available. So Brennan's not touched it. And now you see the change. Brennan touches it now. Down the front straightaway. Miller's in draft, still on cooldown. And now so is Danny Brennan. And that's sort of just how impressive with where everyone's at so far. Miller stayed right there with Brennan on the overtake. Tucker Sawyer is back in pit lane as well. We saw him having struggles to put the power down at the rear of the car. It did not improve when he had that contact with Conkley. And now he's back down pit lane, and I believe his race is over. It is. So that'll be an early exit. For Tucker Sawyer. Leads us with 9 to get through a 200-kilometer event. 8 laps already in the books. Right now we're focusing on the battle for third, which is within half a second. Derek Miller having to try to drive around Danny Brennan. He did so at the start and then immediately lost it with a half spin in this very part of the racetrack. Through the final corner. Brennan defends from the inside. Miller, you see him on the overtake. A little bit of latency there for Brennan. Making it hard for Miller to predict what's going on with that 24 car. Right now, the Taylor Mills group has a 1-2-3 between the senior and the junior team. Brennan looking for back-to-back podiums. Miller looking for his first podium of the season. It has not been a friendly start for Derek Miller. He started off rough at home in Indianapolis to kick off the season. And did not get better in Portugal. The gap is now up to a second and a little over a tenth there. But Miller way better on the braking here. He just got to try to close that gap in. De Backer sets another fastest lap. A 1:23.68 last time around. Does he improve here? Across the line this time again. The answer to that question is yes. So 1:23.6 1.16. Miller set the fastest final sector of the lap. There's 3 sectors here in Spain, here in Barcelona. Miller was the fastest in the final sector. And we will pull up the map real quick just so we can show everyone where these cars are at. There you go, Miller and Brennan. See where they're battling right now. The red dot on the back straightaway that Neil de Backer is coming up to, that's the marker for the beginning of Sector 3. Taylor Mills picking up the pace as well. 33.0 in the middle sector. And you see all the information there on your screen. We'll hide the track map again. So watch the battle unfold. Here's the interval. You see Miller back down to about 0.6 the gap. Rachel Conkley back up, approaching Bryce Saucier as well. And this should be a pretty easy no-brainer pass for the driver that qualified 3rd here in Barcelona earlier today. Side by side, turn 1. Saucier tried to late brake, but was not effective enough. Alexier has gone off track momentarily, but back on the pavement. And in the top 5, much needed points for Stepping Stone now that Gaiman is out of the equation and out of this race in 11th. Garnet Adams on your screen, recovering from the 10-point penalty received from Portugal. Garnet received a 10-point penalty for that last lap contact with Josh Gaiman. And that sent Gaiman into retirement. Adams trying to recover that as well. Now currently the leading scorer here in Barcelona for Prismatic Motorsports, but Conkley is approaching pretty rapidly, having dispatched one of the MPM Nissans. Adams trying to close in on Lilacs here. 1.7 the gap. Miller still approaching Brennan here, trying to find a way around the Irishman. Once again with the latency there, right in front of Derek Miller. Right as Miller's approaching. Brennan back in focus down the front straightaway. Here comes Miller. Miller has to go to the outside. Brennan defends the inside lane through 1. Miller peeks the outside, but too late to really make a move there. And Miller's got to be feeling frustrated, trying to figure out how to piece together a pass around the Irishman. He did it at the initial start. Just has not been able to put it together. Another good opportunity here. Miller's got to set it up and hold on to it to the final sector, though, to really try to make things happen. We'll put away from this for just a second. Rachel Conkley is about to approach Nick Pressey for 7th place. And should try to make pretty quick work here of the number 5 car. The 2-time Champ Car World Series race winner. Holding on to 7th at the moment. Conkley trying to find a way around. The Hungarian down the back straightaway. Not able to make a pass here. Here comes Miller on the outside once again. For 3rd, that's close. Pinches up at the apex and takes 3rd place from Brennan, who's now on push to pass. The overtake is underway for Brennan, trying to use that extra horsepower to get back around for 3rd. Miller on cooldown. Conkley's gotten around Pressey. So Conkley's moved to 7th. Adams trying to take on Zier for 5th. Miller just got 3rd. Here comes Adams to the inside of Zier. Through the end of the first sector. And that's a pass done. Now can Zier respond? Bakker right now leads the way. Just had another fast lap, 123.608 for Neil de Bakker. His teammate Taylor Mills, a 123.74. De Bakker just opens up and manages that gap. And again, this is huge for de Bakker. Entered this race with 68 points over Constantinu's 52. Constantinu using a drop round is not present tonight. That's why Zier's in Constantinu's position in that number 2 car. So de Bakker's going to open up the championship pretty wide here. Obviously, drop rounds will take some of de Bakker's results away later on in the season if he doesn't miss any races. Each driver gets 2 drop rounds. So that's critical. De Bakker at the front of the field, still setting personal best into the first sector of the lap. Credit to Zier, still holding on to Garnet Adams here. And with Adams, I mean, it's been feast or famine. Obviously, last time out in Portugal 2 weeks ago was not great. In that intervening time, Garnet Adams went ahead and debuted an HTL in the Champ Car Light Series and won at Michigan. Did a fantastic job there. Got a podium, finished 2nd on Thursday in that series in Charlotte. So she's gotten off to a rocket start in the HTL Champ Car Light Series. And just piecing that together here in cars that are arguably a little bit harder to drive at the limit. This Champ Car Lights cars, the old Dallara IR05s on Thursday evenings. A little bit more simplistic. It's a lot of fun watching other cars drive there. Whether it's road courses or ovals, Wednesdays and Thursdays, a lot of fun as well. And Zier leads the championship on Wednesdays in the ABN Champ Car World Series. So we know the quality of Zier's ability. And they get to duke it out here. Zier getting left behind just a little bit here. Gaps open up to about 9 cents. Now Zier's on the button. using overtake. De Bakker, another fast lap of the race, 1:23.48. Saucier down pit lane now. One would have to hazard a guess that Saucier may be done for the race. Don't think he's going to gain much more than 9th. He's not really had the pace put together for this car. He's done fantastic again on Wednesdays, because this car is a lot harder to handle on the road courses. That's something I think is very interesting. The differences in these cars, despite how similar they are in the power output department. The Champ Car World Series, those Champ Car machines produce 700 horsepower at tracks like here at Barcelona. These machines, these Hyper Formula machines, produce 640. So they produce 60 horsepower less, even with push to pass included. These cars produce a lot more downforce. Obviously, the tire compound's different between Firestone and Yokohama. But I hazard to guess that these cars are a little more sensitive in the aero department. And Zier sets a personal best, just trying to stay in touch there with Garnet Adams. Zier setting personal best, still slower than the last lap for Adams, as Adams tries to piece together and separate to hold on to that top 5. As we approach the halfway point in this race, we saw split strategies in Portugal 2 weeks ago. I have no doubt we're not going to see that here in Barcelona. I think everyone realized that the later you go into this run, the better off you are at the end of the race when you make your pit stop. There is a mandatory pit stop in the series. Got to take 4 tires at some point. It'll be interesting to see when those pit stops occur. Obviously, Rachel Conkley came down at the end of lap 4 to make a pit stop. That does not count as a valid pit stop, though, for the Hungarian. Zier closing in once again on Adams. It was almost completely out of slipstream range there on the Prismatic Motorsports driver, but now they're back at it. Adams must not have had a great sector 3 that last lap. Gave up 6 tenths, and now trying to piece it all back together. Miller's put himself 5 seconds clear of Danny Brennan. Brennan himself 15 seconds clear right now of Adams. We're looking at drivers right now that did not have the best start of the race. Adams had that half spin in turn 3 at the start of the race. Obviously no contact there. Adams still running. A little bit of a log up there from the 13 car of Adams. Riding up with Zier. Can he represent the Ford cars for Stepping Stone Motorsports? And that's why Zier's losing time. Had his drift out really wide into the gravel. Overtake, you see it on, and you see the time. 150 seconds. She's used 50 so far. So a live look at where the push to pass sits on these cars. Every car gets 200 seconds of push to pass. That's basically 1 second per kilometer in the race. These races are measured to about 200 kilometers, or to just under 125 miles for those that want to do them math and Imperial. Obviously, Zier now in cooldown. You see that those flashing 3 lights on Zier's dashboard there on the left side of that steering wheel. That's your indication that it's in cooldown. When those lights go solid, those blue lights are directly linked to the LED of the roll bar that's our cameras are over. As Adams comes down pit lane, that's huge for Zier, because that makes these laps critical for Zier to hold on and try to maximize that gap in clean air. Adams coming down 4 tires. And this should be a pretty standard 4-tire pit stop. It is going to be for Garnet Adams, and out of the pit lane she comes. Should stay ahead of Nick Pressey. Pressey down the back straight. We see there he is at the 5 car coming down towards turn 1. Adams stays ahead of him. But now she's got to do that tiptoe dance around the track on very cold Yokohama Advan tires. Adams sitting in 7th, Conkley in 6th. But again, Conkley has to make a pit stop here at some point. Has to make a valid pit stop in this race. Zier in 5th. Trying to open up and get personal bests. Reeling here. This is where it gets interesting, because again, a lot of the field has to come down and make pit stops. DeBacker, Mills, Miller, Brennan, and Zier all need to make pit stops. Conkley needs to make another pit stop. Pressey needs to make a pit stop. Everyone wants a solid haul of points. But where is everyone going to fall? The race leader, Neil de Backer, is in. The Belgian will surrender the lead once more to his teammate. Mills stays out an extra lap or so. Miller comes in, Derek Miller. You see him just now there at the pit entry. Brennan stays out. So Danny Brennan takes over 2nd place, tentatively. Taylor Mills leads the way. There are no bonus points for leading a lap here in the Hyper Formula Championship. It's a little bit different compared to Champ Car. With Champ Car, everyone scores points. Here in the Hyper Formula Championship, the top 15 score points. Top 3 in qualifying score bonuses. 3, 2, 1 for the top 3. There's also a bonus point for the fastest lap of the race. Right now, Neil de Backer looking for another maximum points race. Trying to get all 29 points on offer. I see Taylor Mills center of your screen, just trying to recover from what was a very, in her own words, suboptimal start of the season from the US to Portugal. Those first 3 races of the season, 2 of them were marred by accidents. Had to play damage limitation, both in Canada and in Portugal. Barring an actual disaster for Mills, she should take over 2nd in the championship. But again, drop rounds will be a thing. Constantino dropping around here in Spain, one of two. Mills, I think, staying out as long as possible here. You have to pit by the end of lap 39 here in Barcelona. And again, this is going to be a pretty big event next time out. We head to Silverstone as here comes Mills. Down pit lane. Does Danny Brennan follow? This is very interesting. I expected people to try to stretch it out a little bit longer, try to get to that lap 39, or yeah, lap 39 limit. But kind of cutting it right down the middle. Going a little bit longer than halfway, but not by a terrible amount. There's Neil de Backer going right around towards the race lead. Uncontested there, and with the fast lap in hand, 1:23.294 for the Belgian. Taylor Mills out of pit lane, still safely in the second spot. Derek Miller should take third back, and will. And there's Rachel Conkley, who's going to have to deal with Danny Brennan directly. But Brennan's going to have to come from behind there, and Conkley, who pit on lap 4, can go a little bit longer here. Again, Conkley has to make a pit stop still. That lap 4 pit stop, not legal as a valid pit stop, as Conkley had to repair damage on the nose of that car. Sear stays in 6. Garnet Adams right back in the mix. Zooms once more. Zier's made a pit stop, so is Adams. Zier leapfrogged Adams with the overcut. Zier pit on lap 22, right at the halfway point. Adams pit on 20. So Zier is going to have the tire advantage as this race goes along, having gotten this 2-lap difference. De Backer once again, fast lap of the race. Adams still shadowing. Pressy comes down pit lane. This will be his valid pit stop. He is not pitted yet in this race. Backer right now leads the way and just had another personal best, 1:22.90 for De Backer. And it's just constant purple sectors for the Belgian. Next to unstoppable is Neil De Backer. This is Taylor Mills in second place. Her teammate's been absolutely on a warpath. In the best ways possible. And these are the sort of races that I think if you're Neil de Backer, you sort of just hope for. And you've kind of gotten it at this point. There's as Pressy goes a lap down 2 mils. Derek Miller just set a personal best, a 123.16 last lap there. And Miller's matching de Backer for the first sector. 24.27, 24.28 is the difference between those two. So not much in the way there. It's all about that second sector though. That longer, the second sector here in the racetrack is the longest sector of the race per lap. That's where the difference really sort of shines. One car lap down, Nick Pressy. Bryce Saucier still in pit lane, but effectively retired from this event. Rachel Conkley up in the top 4, but again, needs to make another pit stop before lap 39. I guess we should walk through this while we're looking at it. Obviously, Rachel Conkley right now sitting in 4th place. Now, there are rules, there are penalties. If Conkley doesn't pit by lap 39, Conkley's already made a pit stop in this race. If Conkley had not already pit once on lap 4 and went from flag to flag without a pit stop, that's a disqualification. You've got to make at least one pit stop. Conkley's made a pit stop, just not in the legal window. But what happened if Conkley goes the rest of the way without making a pit stop? Instead of being disqualified, Conkley would just be moved to the end of the cars on lead lap, so from 4th to 7th in this case. So there is a difference between those that go bell to bell and those that just come down once and then don't come back down in the legal window. So there is a difference there. So de Backer leads the way, just at another, what's this lap of the race? A 122.72, 725, I believe is what it was. And no, Derek Miller just responded. 122.717. Wow, okay. Miller's on a tear now. He's finally found that rhythm. if anything, just trying to deny Nilde Bakker the max points. Right now sitting on the podium in third. This will be his first, if he gets to it. So de Bakker sits in the front of the field by 9.9 seconds. Taylor Mills in the second position. Derek Miller in third. Ahead of Conkley, Brennan, Zier, and Adams. Pressy is officially out of the race. He joins Saucier in being out. So they've taken their lump sum and they've gone home. So Adams knows that bare minimum, 7th place points belongs to her. And she's just got to find a way around Lilac Zier now. So Miller has the fast lap of the race and takes that bonus point away. Sitting about 11 seconds clear of Rachel Conkley. Danny Brennan sitting in 5th. Zier in 6th. Garnet Adams in the 7th spot. You have to sort of browse and peruse the field because the closest battle technically right now is between Zier and Adams on the racetrack with 11 laps to go. Really huge conversation piece. As Brennan's not far up the road either. Whoa! Zier just went really wide in the grass. Well, through the grass and into the sand. And you want to talk about opportunity. I think opportunity just started knocking for Garnet Adams. Oh, Zier struggling once more. They are really wide there on the exit. Now he's got a giant mirror full of coral and purple. Right in the mirror. Here comes Adams. Peeks to the inside into the sweeper. And I don't think Zier's going to fight too awful hard here. They stay side by side through the sweepers. Zier's now on the right side of the racetrack. But lets it go. So Adams up to 6th. In the melee, Brennan is scrambled, and the Irishman has now put himself 6 seconds clear of these two duo battling, approaching one. And they still fight it out here. 2-1, 2 now into 3. Zier washed out there behind Adams. Saw that struggle for front end grip. Still side by side there. That's how they were trying to look going through the going through the sweeper, I should say. Zier struggling in this final sector though. Dirty Air not helping her out at all, and we already see how much Zier struggled in this sector alone. Almost touches the sand again. Here. Now a second back there from Adams. Grab some clean air once again to try to close back in. And this is the harder part of the racetrack, to try to close back in. Adams bobbled it there. From a second to about 6/10. Everyone else pretty well isolated here. Overtake back on here. Zier now less than 100 seconds, less than 75 seconds there. You see at the bottom of your screen. Bounce off the res limiter there at 6th. Got right to the edge of the rev limiter. It'll be fun seeing these cars go to Monza here in a few weeks. Obviously, Silverstone up next on the calendar. Adam's having a lot of issues locking up here recently. Just riding on board with Zier, seeing a couple different lockups there from Adams. It's really allowed Zier to close back in, and it's really allowed Danny Brandon to pull away more, as the gap is now 7.4 seconds. Tobacco takes his fast lap right back. 1:22.63 for the Belgian. Took it away from Derek Miller. I wonder, sitting here on Zier's overhead, I wonder if you would try, maybe, obviously in cooldown mode for a moment, trying using it in some of the shorter sections of the racetrack, try to get the more power down, because these cars are twin turbo inline fours. A lot of turbo lag comes into play. I wonder if using that overtake, like in this section of the racetrack, might help Zier close in down the back straightaway, approaching sector 3 a little bit better. I wonder if you shape it up for that, and that's what Zier's doing right now, on the button again. And why not? Why not try it? You're running out of laps here to try to make magic happen. I would use that out of turn 3 and kind of just stay on it. Zier's still on it here. So she's giving it a really solid shot, but just really runs wide again. Stays on the button. And Miller takes fast lap back away. 1:22.48 for Miller. Still a green LED there on the top of Zier's roll bar, so that means that there's still more than 20 seconds of push to pass in that number 2 car. But struggling to find a way around. I would hazard a guess here this far into the stint. I have a feeling that despite that 2-lap advantage on the pit window, Zier did not take care of those tires. And I think that's to kind of be expected. Zier's kind of in a fill-in role here, filling in for Constantinu. Very late in that order in terms of getting into the car and getting everything situated. Obviously, Adams has done the entire season so far. A little bit of lockup there from Zier and from Adams. So both of them struggling, but they should still safely be on the lead lap at the end of this race. As De Backer comes to begin 5 laps to go here at the end of this current lap that he's on. Zier's just struggling a lot with the front end grip, is what it comes down to in the final sector. It just isn't there. And you can hazard a guess that it might be the tires to the front of that car just not there anymore. De Backer, another fast lap, 1:22.047. Yeah, that's gonna be hard to beat if you're Derek Miller. They've traded the fast lap back and forth. I think Neil De Backer may have this fast lap pretty well in hand. Can we keep an eye on this battle for 6th on the road? Zier, to her credit, closed back in, was being held at about 6/10 distance, now down to 3/10. Here they come, fighting through, sweeping through, one more. Oh, this is a really good opportunity for Zier. She's just got to keep it there. Got to keep it right on the market. She does. Both of them on push to pass. Both on the overtake. Zier using slipstream. Keeping Adams off the racing line. Late of the late breakers. Adams drives in deep. Wow. Oh, there goes Zier to the inside. Oh, goodness gracious. Really throwing it all together. Adams tried to block it off, couldn't. Through 4. The issue now is that Zier's out of push to pass. Almost. Oh, it's close. Really close to contact a few times between Zier and Adams. This is for 6th. Oh, contact, and that's Zier. Without a front wing now, and that's going to be that decision done and dusted. With 4 laps to go, coming to 3 to go. I think Zier's just going to hang it out because there's nothing really there's no reason to come down pit lane at this point. Not going to go a lap down with 3 laps to go. There's De Backer going through the final sector now. He is the driver with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:22.047. With 3 laps to go. What a disaster that would have been for Adams and Zier if they had both ended up crashing out on the spot. But they both get to continue here. Zier just trying to rock the rest of the race out. That's 2 races in a row. Adams has had contact with the stepping zone driver, obviously penalized for Portugal 2 weeks ago. Now on the other side of it, being run into by Zier. Obviously, we'll try to look at that incident further on later in the broadcast here as we come to a close. See if that was just a clumsy error by Zier, or if there was a park on the apex there by Adams, which both are plausible. Obviously, both drivers defending massively, trying to hold on to that position. For Adams, a lot more, I think, important on the personal side of things, rebounding from that penalty in Portugal. But for Zier, obviously with Josh Gaiman out of the race in 11th, Zier was thinking team points big time on that one. They were both trying to go for a little bit something different. And obviously Adams will win out on that. Obviously Adams continues on. Largely unaffected there, has not lost pace to Brennan since. De Backer with 2 laps to go. Continues to lead the way, looking at another race of maximum points. De Backer around the final sector here. He's gonna have 2 corners to go before he sees the white flag. There'll be 1 lap to go for Neil De Backer in Taylor Mills Racing as they look to secure a 1-2. De Backer's obviously taken his foot off the gas a little bit. He's used all of his push to pass. He's dumped all the overtake out of that car. And he's done an outstanding job. Taylor Mills on a giant last push. Seeing what lap time she can get here by dumping all her push to pass. Sitting firmly and comfortably in second by a little over 5 seconds. This is just for that extra bonus point. Might as well try. You've got that push to pass on hand. Try to make things happen. Miller stopped trying to go for the fast lap, holding on to that push to pass. And you see that. De Backer dumped it all out. He's got half a lap to go. Two corners remain for Neil De Backer before a 3rd race win this season. It has been electric for the Belgian. Neil De Backer wins in Spain. And creates a mountain with the championship lead. Taylor Mills completes the 1-2 for the team. Did not get fast lap there. Still belongs to her teammate. Derek Miller will hold on to the podium for the first time this season. He's got one. Rachel Conkley comes across the road in 4th. Skirting by with a very early pit stop on lap 4. Going 40 laps on that set of tires to hold on to the 4th spot. And throwing the car away for good measure. Danny Brennan dumping off all the push to pass, finishing in the 5th position. Garnet Adams will come home in 6th. After an early spin, dropped Adams all the way down to 11th place. Good recovery drive there by Zier. Without a front wing, stays in the 7th spot and leads the scoring for Stepping Stone Motorsports in what has been otherwise a very upside down day for that team. But for Neil De Backer, it is another race win. 3 of 4. And he remains perfect on the pole positions, 4 for 4 in qualifying. Again, he's done outstanding on the qualifying front, and for the most part has been pretty undeniable on the race front. We'll talk to our podium finishers here in just a moment. I see twin burnouts there for the team. They did an outstanding job there. I see enough fuel in the cars to do some burnouts at the end for those Mazdas. We'll talk about points here in just a moment. We'll look through the full results there on your screen. Obviously, they're still there in the top side of your screen, but we'll go ahead and just pull them up on the big screen as well, just for good measure. It's Neil DeBacher leading the way over Taylor Mills and Derek Miller. Rachel Conkley in the fourth position behind Derek Miller. Miller rounds out the podium, his first podium of the season. Great job there for the Arasaka Arrowhead Racing car. Danny Brennan holds on for a top 5 over Garnet Adams, Lilac Zier. Obviously, the last car to finish, we saw that at the end. Nick Pressey, Bryce Saucier, Tucker Sawyer, and Josh Gaiman all out of this race. Pressey retiring on his own merit. Saucier, Sawyer, and Gaiman all out due to accident damage at the end of this race. We have interviews to deal. We'll talk about points after the interviews here this afternoon. Again, they did a fantastic job. We'll hear from all 3 of our finishers if we can get them squeezed in. Again, we'll leave the running order at the left side of your screen. Let's start with the 3rd place finisher here this afternoon. Derek Miller for Arasaka Arrowhead Racing. First podium to shake off a very rough start of the season. Derek, this is Carmen from the ABN booth. Do you got a copy?
Yeah, it's good to have a somewhat clean weekend this time.
Obviously, you think about how rough this weekend, how rough the season had been up to this point. Obviously, not a great start. Indianapolis did not get a lot better through Canada and Portugal. We talked about how needed this was. We saw the pace. We've seen the pace in that 7 car all season long so far, Derek. But what was it like actually being able to handle this and still having to overcome some adversity as well? Obviously, that early half's been really making things a little bit more difficult. Ben had to try to get around Danny Brennan there.
Yeah, in the beginning, I had the brake bias quite a bit back, trying to get some rotation in it. Overdid it a little bit. The tires just got too hot too quick. And then passing Danny, he was blinking so much. I mean, I didn't know where it was half the time, but finally got that pass done. And then I wondered, I didn't quite know what my pace was going to be like, but it wasn't. It was just kind of even with the 2 front runners. So I just, tried to keep it up and maybe capitalize on a mistake or 2, but not make a mistake myself. And then that's how it finished out.
Obviously, a phenomenal sort of reset here, going from obviously the rough first 3 races, but now we've got a really good fresh start here in Spain. We have Great Britain up next with Silverstone, the next race on the calendar. What's the feeling going into that race? A race that I think is going to be, a little bit more high intensity with where everyone's just sitting and where they know that track. Where is that race sitting for you as far as just your confidence level going in?
Yeah, I'll be happy with another race about like this one. Hopefully I can get closer to the 2 front runners, but another podium would be nice.
Absolutely. I definitely can't argue with that here. You did a fantastic job here in Barcelona. Obviously, Silverstone up next in a week's time. Before we let you go and let you get ready for that race, if there's anyone you want to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congrats again on your first podium of the season, hopefully the first of many here at the end of the season.
Yeah, just thanks to you for putting this on. and maybe if I can qualify better, Silverstone will be a bit closer.
Absolutely. Derek Miller, third place finisher here tonight in Barcelona. We'll see him next time out in 7 days in Silverstone. Derek, enjoy the podium.
Thank you.
That was Derek Miller, the third place finisher here this afternoon. We'll move on to the second place finisher, Taylor Mills, who did a fantastic job once again, just overcoming the issues from the first 3 races, similar to Derek Miller. Finally, another 1-2 for the team after what seemed like an eternity, just dealing with the issues in Canada and Portugal, various issues there. But Taylor, a second place, having a hand in the mix for the fastest lap conversation, just having the all-around pace there. What's the feeling like coming from Barcelona here, once again being sort of back on track?
I won't quote Kimi Räikkönen directly, but after the 2018 US Grand Prix where he won, he said, "Effing finally," and that's the only thought going through my head after all that, because we had such a strong open to the season, and then we had me and Neil coming together twice at Canada, and then I had an awful race in Algarve. In both those races, I knew I had the pace to be up there with Neil the entire way and chasing that 1-2 the entire way. It's cost me in the championship, but well, so far at least. Didn't know how much pace I'd have coming into Barcelona because it's not a track I typically like. But the bit of practice that I did earlier today was quite promising. I found a good chunk of pace in the practice for the session, found loads of pace in qualifying, and then it was just a case of trying to apply that to the race. But the car was a handful. The setup was quite understeer, which is something I can drive. I quite like understeer in a car. But I know everyone else is struggling with that. Same as Derek, I had to wind the brake bias back to try and get some rotation into it. That burnt the rubber out of the rear on the first stint a little bit too fast. So it was very much a management race with the track temperatures and the tyres, and then the physical real-life temperatures as well. But yeah, just finally, I'm back where I belong, back on the podium. That's where I should be.
Obviously, and it's a good way to get into what will be your home race here with Silverstone in 7 days' time. Obviously, you talk about the rough start of the season, a good way to sort of rebound here after the break. Obviously, we have a couple more breaks throughout the season. Going to Silverstone, obviously, we've talked off camera about how much you like Silverstone. How important is this result to just sort of rebound and rebuild that momentum going into your home race?
I think it's brought my confidence up a little bit. We talk about on the Champ Car broadcast just how important driver mentality is, and if you have 2 consecutive bad races in a row, it can be really difficult to bounce back from that. Like, I feel like a lot of people need something to reestablish and remind themselves how good they are, so they know that they can go out and do the thing. And that's really what this race was to me. It was coming in, doing the thing, knowing that I can do it, and just setting the sights solidly on Silverstone. I don't think I'm going to have an answer for Neil in that race because he is almost alien and way too quick at the start of a race. But I think if I can clean up my first few laps after a race start and find a little bit more pace at Silverstone, I may have a chance to box with him. But he is determined to win in Silverstone because that's my home race, and he wants to take my home race win away from me.
I mean, it's 7 days to try to figure it out, and obviously see if you can snoop around and see what the tips and tricks are for the Silverstone track in this car. Obviously, it's going to be a fun battle. Obviously, we hope to see even more battling there. Obviously, about as close as your teammate, your junior associate, Danny Brandon, is going to get to a home race as well over there. Obviously, over there in Ireland, they're definitely not going to call it a home race, but we don't have Mondello. We can't go to Ireland. But obviously, an important race coming up here, arguably more important than any other race on the calendar. Before we let you go and let you go full steam into preparing for that race, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congrats again, back on the podium, and the team looking really hard to beat in the team's championship.
Yeah, I hope so. I just hope this form continues. And as always, shout out to Neil for putting on an absolute clinic again today. I think it was nice to be within 10 seconds of him at the end of the race, so happy about that. Thank you, Neil, for pushing me the entire way, as always. And a big shout out to the Champ Car team who locked in a 1-2 earlier this week, and we followed that up with a 1-2 here tonight, which is something we have done twice now. Stats nerd for you, Carmen. Every time the Champ Car team has got a 1-2, the Hyper Formula squad has backed it up with a 1-2 2 days later. So yeah, shout out to them, shout out to Neil, and shout out to you as always for putting on the broadcast, putting on the race. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm sweaty. I need a shower. That was hard.
Absolutely, I know that how difficult that was. Obviously, you raced on Wednesday. Obviously, I hope you for all the success on next Saturday's race. I hope that your teammates on Wednesdays do not have the same success because I have to deal with them on Wednesdays. But absolutely, enjoy the race win, enjoy the race podium, enjoy the success the team's had over the last 3 days, and obviously, hope the team continues to have that success here rolling forward here. Obviously, an off week for Champ Car, so you don't get to rely on that crutch going into Silverstone. You got to earn it a little bit more there in 7 days. Taylor, enjoy the podium, and we'll see you again here very soon.
Yeah, it's Carmen.
That was Taylor Mills, second place finisher. She's a commentator on Wednesday nights as well, so a little bit of banter back and forth there. No banter, just results and success for the Belgian, the race winner, Neil de Backer, the race winner here. 3 of 4, perfect in qualifying, 4 for 4 in qualifying. The perfect streak continues as far as that goes. But walk us through an absolute clinic of a race that didn't have a lot of spacing in it. You didn't have to deal with a lot of lap traffic, didn't have to deal with any calamities there. Just had to deal with your teammate. And that's probably the best battle you can have here in Barcelona. Walk us through your race and obviously how clinical it is for you to obviously race here. You talked about how much everyone knew this track. It was very apparent with how close everyone was here compared to Algarve 2 weeks ago. But you're so hard to beat here. What was the secret here? Success, and obviously trying to carry that forward. Obviously, Taylor said you were trying to go ahead and take that home race away from her next week. But walk us through sort of just the clinical ability for you here in Barcelona and what you were feeling in that car.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a good race. The most important thing at the beginning was definitely the start. This time around, I had a decent start, good enough to keep me in P2, which was good enough for me. Then first couple laps, trying to figure out where Taylor was quick, where isn't she quick, and then I saw oh, she made one error in the final corner. I wasn't gonna do any dive or something like that, but she had a bad exit because she went off track final corner, so I had to run so I could overtake and then get out of the dirty air, which was important. The setup was quite understeery. It was probably because of the high temps and yeah, Barcelona, yeah. And like I expected from the last race, the field was really close, so it wasn't like I had a huge gap. I think at the end it was 9 seconds, which wasn't a lot. But at least I got all the maximum points, which was the most important thing.
Obviously, we talk about this race. Obviously, you look at the drivers that were obviously in that range. Derek Miller, who had a half spin, was still only 14 seconds behind. We go to another track here, and this is where I think a lot of the bread and butter of the calendar is going to end up being. We have Silverstone coming up next, and then I think it's Magny-Cours right after that, which should open things up once again just a little bit. Going into Silverstone, obviously, hard to say that you're not the favorite there. Walk us through, though, your expectation just going through Silverstone. Obviously, the bar has risen a little bit. Didn't have some of the regular favorites. He didn't have Bianca to deal with tonight. She took a drop round here. Walk us through sort of what you're expecting from Silverstone and obviously how confident you feel in being able to back it up again in Silverstone. Again, perfect in qualifying, 4 for 5. Outside of Montreal, basically, it is perfect in the race events here. What's that feeling like for you going into Silverstone, knowing that you're going to have a target on your back, but also multiple drivers are going to see that as a home race, and I think the pressure. This is the first time this season that the pressure is going to be at a maximum level for you, just with all the challenges coming after where you're at in the standings. What's the feeling going into that race?
Yeah, it's of course Silverstone is a great track, a track everyone knows well, so I'm expecting the field to be really close again. But it's a track I also know well, of course. I've driven multiple cars there. I've even driven the Super Formula here, I think was a couple of weeks ago on the iRacing series schedules, and then my pace was good, so I'm expecting that I will have a good pace. Pressure-wise, this is a really enjoyable car to drive, so I'm not really feeling a lot of pressure with that because it's racing, it's for fun. It's Kimi Räikkönen was always my favorite driver, and his specialty was always staying calm in every situation. You get, of course, nervous for certain races, but with experience, you get used to it. In the beginning, when I started sim racing, I was a lot more nervous for races. Now, just know, stay calm, stay out of the trouble, and you'll get a good result.
It's been true so far, and it's led to a 33-point advantage in the Drivers' Championship standings after 4 races. Before we let you go, and obviously let you enjoy your race win, enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening, and get ready for Silverstone in 7 days, if there's anyone to shout and say thank you to, the floor is yours. Congrats on your 3rd win of the season, your 4th pole of the season, and overall a fantastic result, a 1-2 for the team to once again reaffirm that team's position at the top of the order.
Of course, big thanks to my team. Also, big thanks to the organizers. I think it's mainly you, right? You're the only organizer, pretty much. So, congrats for organizing it and trying to make it as run as smoothly as possible. And until next week.
Absolutely. Neil de Backer, race winner once again for the 3rd time this season in 4 races. 33-point advantage going into Silverstone in 7 days' time. Neil, enjoy the race win. We'll see you again in Silverstone.
Thank you very much and have a nice weekend.
Thank you. You as well.
Bye.
Fantastic job there, Neil de Backer. 96 points is where he sits on the Drivers' Championship table. He has done an electric job so far this season. Let's go ahead and just walk through the full running order here. Let's go ahead and look at the points as they currently stand. Let's start with the teams here this afternoon. Team standings, Taylor Mills Racing. Who else? 2 drivers that are just absolutely top of their game in this series so far. Josh Gaiman and Lilac Zier for Stepping Stone Motorsports this afternoon. Adding to the Stepping Stone Motorsports total, just not enough to really sort of usurp the 1-2 in the max points that came there from TMR. Prismatic Motorsports, both cars in the points, both cars at the finish. Rachel Conkley in 4th, Garnet Adams in 6th, bringing home some solid points. We'll close that gap in on Stepping Stone Motorsports there by a significant amount, 95 points to 88 points. That gap for 2nd place in the standings is now down to 7. That's a really cool thing. Ascent Racing had a drop round for Eli Sasek. Again, drop rounds will mess with this a lot. But Ascent Racing with Tucker Sawyer got up to 55 points. Taylor Mills Motorsports with Danny Brennan, a really good run as well, 43 points for him. For Taylor Mills Motorsports, I guess as a team as a whole, with 43 points. Nick Pressey Motorsports of 41. Arisaka Airhead Racing gained some spots there with the podium for Derek Miller. They moved up to 7th. They had a Dogbox Racing who was not present. Gearcats not present. They've only had 1 car race this season. That was Lily Peltier Sharp. We'll talk about that later on. Valfreya Motorsports not present as well. Rebecca Rennie not present for racing at the moment. We'll see Rennie again as soon as Mandy Core, but that means obviously no point scores for Valfreya until that point either. NECA Motors in 11th, and then Rainbow Racing pointsless so far through 4 races. And then we'll talk about the driver standings here, because this is where it gets arguably a little bit more interesting. Neil de Backer, 33-point advantage over Taylor Mills. They've taken the 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship standings. Again, drop rounds will mess with us. There'll be a little bit of flux to this. Constantinu, however, missing out on points here in Barcelona. That'll be a big crutch for the Constantinu, for the Romanian driver for Stepping Stone Motorsports. We hope to see Constantinu back in Silverstone. With the way the points are looking, gonna need all the points possible there in Britain in 7 days, down to obviously 52 points, down to 3rd. And it's a pretty wild gap there. Rachel Conkley stays in 4th, closes in on the top 3. But again, if Constantinu returns to Silverstone and returns in the form that we're expecting the Romanian to return to, that's going to be a fun fight in Great Britain in 7 days. Tucker Sawyer, top 5, holding on to that spot pretty firmly out of Josh Gaiman. You have Danny Brennan sitting there in the 7th position. He's done a good job closing in on the top 5 in the championship standings. Garnet Adams recovering nicely back to where she was at the end of Portugal before that penalty. Back with 28 points, but back now into the top 8. Derek Miller up to 9th with 25. Lily Peltier Sharp in 10th. Obviously, having only done a couple races so far this season, Peltier Sharp sits with 21 points, having podiumed at Montreal. Nick Pressey in 11th. Eli Sasek in 12th. Bruce Silva for Dogbox Racing down to the 13th position. Then it's Bryce Saucier, Rebecca Rennie, Jessica Sabin, Lilac Zier now up to 17th with those 9 points scored this afternoon. Luna Magnild and Bobby Crivelli, your top 19 point scorers Make that 21 drivers that have scored points this season out of 24 starters. It's a competitive season, and the competition continues on next week at Silverstone. Between now and next Saturday, we have a lot going on. Later tonight at 8 p.m., it's the start of the ARC's High Octane series from Daytona. It'll be right here on ABN Studios at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. A little over 4 hours from now, we'll be seeing you again in Daytona. Going to be a lot of fun there. Tomorrow, doubleheader. Winstall Cup Series Racing. They begin their chase for the Winstall Cup tomorrow at 7:45 p.m. Eastern on ABN 1 on Twitch. Here on YouTube, it's the ARC State Cup Series. Their playoffs continue here on YouTube here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Monday, it's the HTL Cup Series from Rockingham. It's going to be a lot of fun there. 8 p.m. on Twitch on ABN 1. Same with the HTL Hamilton Truck Series, 8 p.m. on Tuesday. Wednesday is an off week for the first time. No ABN Champ Car racing. We'll be back again in 2 weeks at Atlanta for the Champ Car World Series and the Champ Car Light Series on Thursday right here on YouTube at 9 p.m. That'll do it from us here in Barcelona. We'll be back again live at 8 p.m., a little over 4 hours time for race at Daytona to kick off the ARC's High Octane Series. We hope you join us then. For everyone that joined us and had fun this afternoon, we appreciate it wherever you are around the world. Until next time, until we get to Daytona and we get through the rest of the weekend, stay safe, stay healthy, have fun this weekend. We'll see you again very shortly. I'm Carmen Sienna on behalf of ABN Studios. So long, everybody.